Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday out there. Hope we're all staying dry as we have a couple disturbances rolling on through the country. And that's going to be the big story in today's video. So, kind of have a bit of a 1-2 punch ongoing right now with one storm system crossing the Gulf of Mexico and another back out in the Rockies beginning to deepen and strengthen and will bring severe weather as well as snow to many folks out that way before also crossing the country going into this weekend and could disrupt some of those plans. Now, as bad as all this sounds, the good news is we do have some relief on the way. As we get through this weekend and into early next week, expect very nice weather, including very fall-like weather, so perfect timing for all of those leaves that are really beginning to change across much of the country. Now, if you haven't already subscribed, definitely consider doing so, and if you like the video, make sure to hit that like button and comment. Let me know what you're seeing out there as these different weather disturbances roll on through the next couple of days, and tell me what you're excited for as we move ahead into the end of October, which pretty crazy. We're already kind of in the middle of October now, really flying pretty quickly. In fact, this entire year has, but I'm sure that's no news to you as you've probably experienced it just as well as I have. With that said, though, let's go ahead and jump into it now. So taking a look at satellite imagery, again, this is what I was talking about with that 1-2 punch. Disturbance 1 here kind of over the Florida Panhandle, and Disturbance 2 working its way out of Colorado and into Nebraska currently. Now, Disturbance 1, the good news here is this guy's moving pretty quickly and getting out of here, but before he does leave, we are going to have to continue to deal with some rain here into the eastern Carolinas, southeastern Georgia, and Florida, as well as a severe weather threat this afternoon into central Florida as we have enough instability that far south with plenty of wind shear to cause some troubles going on later here into this evening. Now, outside of that on Storm System 1 and all of this precipitation we're currently seeing with Storm System 2, it's actually a pretty nice morning for most folks up through the Northeast, the Ohio River Valley, and the South Central Plains. We're kind of stuck in between these two systems, and that is leading to overall pretty nice weather for a lot of folks. So that's kind of your good news out there right now. Now, as for current conditions, again, we are seeing a lot of rain in the southeast currently. That rain shield extending all the way from Charlotte up towards Greensboro, Raleigh, back towards Atlanta, although moving out of those areas currently. But where we're really seeing the heavy rain right now is back towards Columbia, South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, down towards Macon, Georgia, just north of Jacksonville, Florida there, and really up and down the coastline from the Outer Banks all the way down to Jacksonville, Florida. Now, what we're also seeing currently out here is actually a tornado watch through much of north central Florida right now, and this is because of a lot of instability that we have this afternoon. So still plenty of warm Gulf air kind of being advected inward here towards Florida, with this low pressure bringing plenty of wind energy over top that warm air advection, plenty of spinning in the atmosphere today. So really have to watch out for the chance of a couple tornadoes here through much of today. Much like we see with tropical systems that make landfall, a lot of the times with hurricanes we see tornado watches. This is no different. Just that this isn't quite fully tropical and doesn't have, all those tropical characteristics, but really same principle ideas. Now, as for the Great Plains, where we're seeing that storm system, again, a lot of rain right now from Chicago seeing rain back towards northern Illinois into much of Iowa, but really the core of this storm is still back over kind of the Colorado-Nebraska line, and it is beginning to strengthen and deepen, and will continue to do so throughout the day today, where we could also see severe weather this way, as well as some snow, and we're already seeing snow in these higher elevations back towards Wyoming and Colorado currently. So definitely watching out for that. And another big part of this storm system is going to be the wind. You'll notice a lot of high wind warnings and high wind advisories from South Dakota all the way down through Nebraska and Kansas this afternoon. Again, the storm system is going to get quite strong, and that wind's going to really crank up going into this afternoon and evening. Alrighty, so we're going to start here in the southeast and talk about this storm system moving on through, just because this one is kind of going to be out of our hair quicker than the other one, so I think it's just going to be a little easier to start with this one. Alrighty, so again, currently right now we're seeing that rain from Charlotte down towards Columbia, Charleston, back towards Fayetteville and Greenville, North Carolina. But really the severe weather I want you to watch out for is this kind of line you see back here. This is going to swing through Florida going into this afternoon, and that's where we will have the best ingredients overlapping to potentially have some tornadoes this afternoon. So really have to watch out for that. Outside of there, just kind of watch this rain shield, and where you live on the map here. Again, South Carolina here, North Carolina here, Georgia here, Florida here, and you'll see how that rain shield kind of moves on as we move ahead into time. Getting into about the 11 o'clock to noon hour, most of the rain shield should begin to work on through. Just some leftover showers from Columbia down towards Charleston, Florence, South Carolina, and through the Outer Banks and really east of I-95 in North Carolina. Still seeing some light rain about noon this afternoon, but the Western Carolina is really clearing out by that time. As this is ongoing, though, you'll notice this line of storms in Florida really beginning to crank up and get its act together as that swings on through. And again, that's whenever that tornado threat will be the highest. Going into this evening, really should clear out with just some clouds and drizzle left over in the Carolinas and Georgia, but about 3 or 4 o'clock today, you'll notice that line of storms, although broken at this point, so even more of a tornado threat here from that noon hour to really that 5 o'clock hour this evening, again through much of central Florida from Orlando to Ocala, even further south towards places like Tampa could see some of these storms begin to spin up and rotate. The good news is, by the time we get towards sunset tonight, things really clear out, and the clouds should begin to move away, that drizzle should begin to die down, and we should have a little bit of nicer conditions overnight before likely another batch of rain tomorrow for some folks in this area, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Alrighty, so let's talk about some severe weather in the plains today and some other things we're going to see out here. We do have a slight risk of severe weather for much of kind of eastern Nebraska, eastern Kansas, from Kansas City up through kind of the Iowa and Nebraska border here, having the best chance of that, or just best chance of seeing some strong storms, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. So again, all this is because of this low pressure swinging on through currently, and as it continues to move east today, we're going to have just enough instability and warm air advected northward with a lot of wind energy here. And some of these photographs today, and what I mean by that is just the wind profiles are quite ridiculous. It's just a matter of where can we get just enough instability to overlap with those to spin up some tornadoes out here. But even if we don't see that, likely some large hail because of all that cold air we're seeing aloft today and some damaging winds for much of this area. Alrighty, so running you through it here in future radar. Again, right now that low pressure working its way into Nebraska. For areas kind of in this northern stretch of the storm system, not really too much of a severe weather threat, more or less just good old-fashioned rain, except for you folks kind of in some of these higher elevations back here towards western South Dakota and Nebraska. You folks are actually going to see some snow out of this thing. So you'll notice as we move this ahead into time, going into this evening about 4 o'clock local time, you'll see some of the snow breaking out into some of these higher elevations towards South Dakota and even into Nebraska. You'll see here too as we move this ahead in time. But as this is ongoing, again, good old-fashioned rain to the north of this system, but we'll see a line of storms kind of form right on it here. And it's this area you need to watch for that severe weather going into this evening. So if I move this map ahead a little, kind of right in here, going about the time the sun is setting, any of these storms that are kind of wrapping directly around the low pressure system have the chance to spin up a tornado or two, some large hail, and definitely some damaging winds. So definitely need to watch out for that this evening. Again, if you're on the north side of this, just not enough instability for that severe weather. So it's just going to be good old-fashioned fall-like rain with some snowflakes mixing in there, again, in those higher elevations into western South Dakota and Nebraska. Moving this ahead into tonight and into the early morning hours, again, have to continue to watch these line of dangerous storms cross into Iowa from Nebraska. Again, the sun will likely be down at this point, so any severe weather you see, or excuse me, any weather that comes through, you will not be able to see just because we lose those daylight hours. But again, that will continue into the overnight hours before we get into tomorrow morning. And we're back to really just good old-fashioned rain for most folks, although, again, another line of potentially kind of potent storms here on the southeastern side of that low-pressure system, this time moving on through Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana tomorrow afternoon. All right, so as for snowfall, again, there actually will be some snow here into, as I've said many times now, those higher elevations back here into southwestern South Dakota and into western Nebraska. For those folks in these higher elevations down here into South Dakota, I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple inches accumulate. Now, it's going to be kind of difficult just because temperatures are going to be kind of borderline, if you will, meaning they're going to be right at freezing, but some places that see that snowfall heavy enough for long enough could see a couple inches accumulate. I think this map's overdoing it just a little bit, but maybe 1 to 3 inches. A couple places could even see more than that. And again, some of those places that are a little bit more favored climatologically through this region. Alrighty, so that's the snow and severe weather we're going to see today back out there. Let's go ahead and zoom this out a little and talk about this storm system going into tomorrow and Saturday, east coast wide, or at least east of the Rockies, as we move this ahead. So again, going into tomorrow morning and afternoon, a very impressive shield of rain here. We're moving on through much of the Midwest. Don't expect too much severe weather in the morning hours tomorrow, but as we go into the afternoon, again, we're going to get just enough of that instability in front of this first line of storms that in kind of this circled area on your map, we could see some severe weather develop with, again, just enough of that unstable air. So moving this into tomorrow afternoon, that rain and potentially severe weather continues to move on through places like Chicago, Milwaukee, Green Bay, and even into kind of Gary, Indiana by the time we're getting into the afternoon hours. And as that is ongoing, we're also going to get another plume of moisture out of the Gulf in the southeast. So you'll notice here kind of getting some clashing of some cold air damming and some warm Gulf air riding over that, and that's going to lead to some areas of showers rolling on through the southeast and mid-Atlantic tomorrow afternoon. So moving this ahead into tomorrow evening, this storm system still crossing the country, and by the time we get into the overnight hours of tomorrow, I think that severe weather threat should really begin to die down as we kind of lose that moisture or instability supply from the Gulf of Mexico. And going into our early Saturday morning here, again, pretty widespread showers here for much of the Midwest into sections of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic here on your map. So again, from Wisconsin, Michigan down towards Ohio, Pennsylvania, and into the mid-Atlantic, seeing the most of that moisture during the early morning hours of Saturday. Now, I know a lot of us probably have plans on Saturday, so looking at the afternoon, still looks quite showery for a lot of folks, but I think by the time we get to the afternoon, a lot of this should clear out for the southeast, and it'll really just be more of a kind of Great Lakes and eastern mid-Atlantic kind of problem by the time we get into the afternoon hours of Saturday. But we'll definitely have to watch that forecast, and I'll keep you updated. Alrighty, so that's kind of what's going on right now out with these storm systems. How much rain are we going to see out of it? Well, a pretty good amount up here into the northern Great Plains and Great Lakes region. Potentially 1 to 3, maybe even 3 to 5 inches in isolated spots of rain to come for those folks. And even some more rain still this afternoon in Florida. A good 1 to 3 inches possible there, with especially anybody that sees those heavier downpours with those thunderstorms. Kind of the one place that's going to not get too lucky out of this, and unfortunately it's the one area that needs it the most here, kind of a circled area on your map here. We're just, unfortunately, going to kind of get split by both of these storm systems. So really just not that much lifting in the atmosphere to help kind of wring out any moisture that we have. So unfortunately, again, the people that really need it the most are going to get the least out of these next couple storm systems. And moving ahead into time, it looks like after this, we're going to have to wait a good 4 or 5 days longer till we have a shot at rain again. So kind of the unfortunate news there for you folks who are hoping for some rain that really just might not see all that much. Alrighty, so again, after this moves on through this weekend, I think by the time we hit Sunday afternoon, most of us should be dry, and the good news is the flow will come out of the north here, so we're going to lose that warm, unstable air from the Gulf of Mexico, and dry, cooler air is going to funnel in from Canada going into the second half of this weekend and into early next week, and that should last for a while, likely until potentially another storm system tries to cross later next week. So again, we're going to get a good 3 to 5 days of quiet weather after this passes on through. So plenty of time to kind of get out there and enjoy some of those activities you might have planned. So again, kind of in front of this front, expect those dew points to increase a bit going into our Friday and Saturday, especially in the southeast, where we're going to be a little bit closer to that moisture supply in the Gulf of Mexico. But again, as we go into Sunday and early next week, that kind of hose, if you will, gets kinked or cut off from the Gulf as that flow comes out of the north, and we're back to very comfortable fall-like weather. And same thing for temperatures. You'll notice here that blue really begins to work in on your map going early next week. Just about everyone east of the Rockies enjoying cooler than average temperatures, and that should again last at least through the middle of the following week. And another way we can look at that here is on our 6 to 10 day temperature probability outlook. Again, very high chances of below average temperatures for everyone here in the southeastern United States. So very good news for us folks who are kind of hoping to tap into that fall-like weather. The not so good news, again, drought ongoing out here, and it looks to only worsen here going into the next 6 to 10 days. Hopefully that storm system next week can kind of change the pattern and have a bit more of some organized, rain to move on through. But right now, it's just kind of really hit or miss for a lot of folks down here in sections of the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast. So hopefully that'll change moving forward. Alrighty, well, that's all I've got for you on this Thursday. Hopefully, you found some use in it. And of course, if you did, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, as it goes a long way in helping the channel out and really just means a lot to me as well. Anyway, though, have a great rest of your Thursday. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you all next time.